Tapi bahasa ngagai kita semua. Hello everyone. I love stories. From as far back as I can remember, I have always loved stories. That being said, I was a very lawless child. Yes, you heard it right. It's lawless without the L. My Iban grandparents tried everything they could to put some sense of fear into me because they thought that fear was a sign of respect. But I would have none of it. The more they talk about demons, the more curious I became. I mean, my innate used to tell me that if I don't listen to her and behave, the Maya's demon would come out and kidnap me and take me away, and my family would never ever see me again. So what was the main animal character that I wrote into Iban dream? The orangutan, naturally, of course, right? On top of that, I was not the kind of child to whom you can say, because it is so, or because that is how it has always been. The more my grandparents did not want to talk about something, the more questions I asked. And it was also very easy for me to unnerve them with some of my suggestions. I remember how annoyed I was years ago when I was a child because I was told to weed grass around the orchard hut. Thinking back, it was not really a hard work to do, just a simple pull and maybe a bit of digging with a blunt knife. But I was annoyed because I did not like the heat of the sun on my back and the cramps in my legs from all the squatting. My grandmother, however, was moving steadily along up and down the slope in front of the hut, cutting down the grass with a machete. I couldn't see my grandfather, but I could hear him, and how I wish I was with him because I love watching him swing his big, long parangs and cut off those shrubs and vines. Innate, however, would not let me anywhere near him because there might be snakes or monitor lizards. So she gave me a blunt knife and told me to clear the grass in front of the hut. Each time I tried to sneak away, she would call me back. I swear that old lady had eyes behind her head. Then at one point, as she was making her way down to me, I suddenly had the most brilliant idea. When she reached within hearing range, I said, "I wish grass will never grow again." Enid was horrified. I could see her face change. She started berating me. She started scolding me. I was hurt. Then I was angry. It was such a brilliant idea. I could not understand why she would not agree with me. She started telling me a story, but I heard nothing because I was so mad. I only heard the name Sempurai because he's my favorite Iban god. Then I remember her saying that there were many women and Sempurai cursed one, but I would not listen. I was so angry. Some years after my grandmother passed, I was reading through an online white paper and I came across a story that sounded familiar. Was this the story that my grandmother had tried to tell me, but I was too angry to listen to? It had all the right elements. Unlike the other mythical stories my grandmother used to tell, this story appeared to have happened in the early or mid-19th century. It was some decades after the death of Mawa Biak, the grandson of the great pioneer Mawa Tuai. Antana was the name of that land. This area is actually quite close to the modern-day Betong in Sarawak. It's still considered as the old land by the Ibans there. There was once a woman there called Chirunga. She was a hard-working woman. The land was fertile and good, but the jungle always found a way to encroach into her field. The weeds kept growing. It would take her days to reach the last corner of her field. Then much too soon, she would have to start all over again. Her back was sore and sunburned from all the endless bending, and her fingers chafed from the pulling. She complained about it, but there was not much she could do. It was either she pulled the weeds or her field would become overrun with them. Then one day, some women suggested that they plant the taya cotton in her field. She agreed because she could use them to weave cloth and blankets, and she could also enjoy the company of her friends for the afternoon. It was a bright and hot afternoon. To make the work more bearable, Chirunga began to sing a love song. She had a lovely voice. and the Mamandai she sang was equally beautiful. Crack! Came a loud noise from the edge of the field. A tree had broken in half, as though a large rock from the sky had crashed down on it. The women were afraid, but they were also curious. So they clung to each other with one hand and held up their knife or stick with the other. Was it an enemy who was after their head? Was it a large animal? It could not be one of their men, because he would have called out, so they would not be startled so rudely. Who is there? Chiranga shouted, her voice unusually loud. She was afraid, but she must not show it. So she shouted loud, so that the intruder would think that she was not afraid. A man's voice replied, "It is I, Sempurai." And he stepped out of the shadows. He was tall and large, like a totem altar carved of hardwood. Another man came forward, an equally handsome and fine man, though of lesser build. "My name is Punga," he said. "We are from Pangaulibao." The women gasped with surprise. All their fears turned to awe. Could it be possible that they were being visited by demigods from the invisible world? Sempurai and Punga. These men could not be lying about something like that. No one would dare to lie about being the principal warriors of Kling, the wayward hero of Pangaulibao. A sudden shyness overwhelmed them. What do you say to a god? They were in their work clothes. They had no tall pins in their hair to enchant these deities with. They were not ready to dance a welcome to their divine visitors. They all wished they could at least wash and make themselves more presentable. Sempurai, however, did not seem to care about any of these worries. He said, "We heard a beautiful voice singing a love song. We just had to come so we could hear your voice more clearly." Chiranga blushed. They had come because of her voice. Her voice was a great source of pride to her, and she knew all the love songs of her people, so she offered to sing some more songs for them. And indeed, she knew many songs and verses, for she sang until late in the afternoon. She sang until the sun started to set. As the world was about to turn to dusk, Sempurai said, "You should be on your way home, else you will be forced to sleep in the field." Both he and Punga got up to leave. Chiranga said, "If you are pleased with the songs I have sung, will you give me a charm?" For after all, it was only natural for a woman or a man to ask a friendly spirit for a charm. This was a good way to ensure that everything they do in this world would be successful. "Certainly," Sempurai said. "What type of charm do you wish for? A love charm to enchant any man you meet? A farming charm to ensure a good harvest? What is it you wish? Tell me." Without hesitation, Chiranga said, "I wish for a charm that will stop weeds from growing in my field." Sempurai stared at her wide-eyed. His beautiful face changed, becoming dark with rage. He started to turn into that demon half of his ancestry. The other women fell back in horror, but Chiranga stood her ground. Sempurai said, "Why would you wish that? Even your vulva is full of hair. Why shouldn't grass grow in your field?" "I sang for you all afternoon. Give me what I want," Chiranga demanded defiantly. Sempurai kicked her between her legs. Then he and Punga jumped back, and they disappeared back into the invisible world. Chiranga was startled. When she saw the horror on her friend's face, she put on a brave smile, then walked back to the longhouse without any trouble. She was proud and she was strong. Even if a demigod should kick her, she was fine. On their way home, she made her friends promise to keep their meeting with Sempurai and Punga secret. They agreed, because telling their community that Sempurai lost his temper might get them into trouble. It was a bad omen after all. A day later, the hair from Chiranga's vulva started to fall off in clumps. She laughed, thinking that it was a joke of bad taste from Sempurai. He was half demon after all. In the following days, she started to lose her appetite. The cool water no longer quenched her thirst. She was always thirsty, and she would drink until she felt like vomiting, but she would still feel overheated, as though she was being cooked from the inside. Then she stopped plucking the hair from her eyebrows because they stopped growing back. Soon the hair from her head started to fall off. She began to feel hot and cold for no reason. She trembled like an old woman and became sickly. The slightest smell would make her vomit. Her family called for one witch doctor after another. None could cure her. When she started coughing out blood, she finally admitted to her family about what she had done, and they realized that there was nothing they could do for her. For after all, Sampurai was famous for his deadly bad temper. It was not told how long Chirunga suffered, because in the old days, time was measured in lifetimes, not in months or years. It was just told that her life was cut short. I was thoughtful after I read the story. I felt in a way that it was unfair of Sampurai to destroy her life just because she made a little request. It was such a little thing after all. I mean, I would have made the same wish if Sampurai had appeared to me when I was weeding in my grandparents' orchard. But the next morning, I woke up with a sudden revelation. Maybe I figured it out in my dream, or maybe a kind spirit had explained it to me. Chirunga had asked for death. When grass stops growing, it means the land is dying. So my prayer for all of us here tonight is that our patience, our creativity, and our talent will enchant gods and persuade them to come down for a visit. But when it is time for us to ask for a gift, we will be wise enough to ask for life. Thank you.